Well, hello everyone. Welcome to what was the final week of the regular season of the Reddit League. My name is Zotomo, and I'm joined as always by my co-commentator Calamity. Good Abend.
Yeah, it's more like late afternoon. No, it's not even late afternoon. It's 3 p.m. So it's not in the evening yet. But yes,
Well, it's
hi.
evening for me, so it's very late for me. So I think it was definitely appropriate. But yeah, and we are coming at you from across the globe again today, as our guest this week is from America, Patriots FTW. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Yeah, you had some very good news this week, as we'll get into in a bit. But with that, let us jump right into Division One to start things off. And Patriots, a kind of topsy-turvy week in Kenya for Division One. Very low scores and very high scores.
Oh yeah, especially in the top half. There's like five really good scores at over 24K. Unfortunately, most of them seem to face against each other. Raidman picked up another draw against Boxa. They both got over 24,900, so that kind of guaranteed it. Yeah, Simi also got a bit unlucky probably going against Meguron, who had a fantastic score also over that 24,900 mark. And then Giovanni was the one who really got the advantage there with the having a good score, beating out Kevin Croner pretty handily. And then like Mr. Blue and Orpheus, they didn't get insane scores, but they got a good enough scores to get them the win against Radu and Equinox, respectively.
Yeah, Calamity, was this a particularly difficult seed or just one that really favored practice?
I called it a meme seed afterwards,
Ah,
because it featured two national parks,
oh,
with tracker coverage. Well, it's is it tracker coverage? It's not really tracker coverage. It's just a
no, it's
specific
actual
Google card.
cars,
It's
but
not
yeah.
the normal Google card. And I think it had one more location that was a bit weird. But I don't fully remember what that was right now. I'll sort of look it up on the side whilst I'm talking about the results. But yeah, Raidman and Boxer kind of went pretty much how you'd expect it, given that Raidman is a specialist at picking up draws with the highest score in the division. And he's done so yet again. Yeah, and I'm currently looking at the locations. Round one was also a repeat. That was not this specific location, but two locations very close by were in two of the other seeds as well.
Mm.
And round two was a location that was pretty much within like 50 meters of all the information you needed, so you barely had to move for that one. And what was the other one? Round three was in the suburbs of Mombasa, which is also a pretty distinct region. So it was kind of just a very weird seed in general. That was one where you definitely benefited a lot from practice. Just even solely looking at national parks and looking at remembering those special cars, and that's definitely helped you out a ton. And I assume most of those points losses from the people who had low scores came from not recognizing the national parks, because really in most cases it's pretty hard to figure out which national park you're in if you don't know it already, because you're not going to find many signs. Yeah, apart from that, Rado will surely be a bit disappointed, as he was safe from relegation before this. Well, I say safe, he wasn't in the relegation zone before this week, and Mr. Blue's score was very beatable, um, but not with a score like that for Radu. And the same pretty much goes for Equinox as well against Orpheus, who was just 2,000 points behind, which means both of them kind of fall back, or at least don't advance out of those relegation places. And Magyaron winning against Simi kind of worked out all right for both of them. Magyaron because he needed the win, and Simi because it didn't really matter for him anyway. And if he had won, it wouldn't have changed anything for him in the table either. So I guess he'll take it. He had a pretty decent score himself, so yeah, he won't be mad about that.
Yeah, pretty a surprising performance by Mr. Blue and Orpheus, both towards the top of that table, getting some pretty low scores below 19,000 even. But yeah, kind of a rough seed as we found out from there. And as we jump over to this Division One table, we can see that, as Calamity mentioned, Simi's loss doesn't really change anything, but does give Magaron the slight boost, giving him out of that promotion relegation playoff spot rather. But unfortunately for Radu, drops him down. So he'll have to battle against Kevin Kroner to see if he has to return to Division 2 after this season. Top 4, though, stay the same. Nothing really changing there. Mr. Blue and Raidman switching spots there. But all that really means is that Boxa does able to claim that top spot after the regular season. A bit of pride for him there. But those top 4 staying the same. All go into the playoffs for the championship next week from there. So yeah, Patriots, any interesting notes from you here on how this Division 1 table finished up?
Yeah, not really. You pretty much summed it up. It was kind of interesting to see Magyar be able to pull it out and be able to get out of the relegation playoffs, and he'll be pretty happy about that. He put in a good score, and he definitely deserves it. Yeah, the top 4 moved just a little bit. Otherwise, yeah, not much happened here.
Yeah, Calamity, what's interesting is no tiebreakers were needed. Everybody on different points at the top of this table there, as well as the bottom as well.
I mean, 5th and 6th are on the same points, but,
They're not in the, yeah.
well, yeah, but it's still a tiebreaker. But anyway, yeah, it kind of ended up roughly how you would have expected it at the start, with the only real surprise, I guess you could call it, being Simi out of the promotion, or well, not promotion, but playoff places. But that became pretty clear relatively soon into the season. Apart from that, Kevin Kroner managed to hang on to his spot in the relegation playoff, even with a score difference well over 30,000 points in the negatives. But yeah, he'll definitely have to perform above his level, presumably into the playoff match against Radu. But yeah, you have to say as well, despite all the other instances of overall score barely meaning much anywhere in any of the divisions, at least here the bottom 4 also had the 4 worst total scores. So that's nice. And another interesting thing to look at is that there's a pretty big gap in aces between the top 9 in that category and the bottom 3 in Schludi, Magyarn, and Kevin. And I'm interested to see if next season, at least for Schludi, maybe for Kevin as well, if he can't win the playoff, whether time that extra 30 seconds will be a factor in maybe leading to more aces for them, or if they're just struggling with pinpointing in general a bit.
Very nice. Yeah, and some other interesting facts of the 4 championship playoff players from last season. Only Raidman is in that spot again, the other 3 out of it. And of the top 6 players, 4 of them are newcomers, either promotion or just newcomers got in through qualifying in Mr. Blue, Orpheus, Arglue, and Real Boxa. So yeah, definitely the competition got a whole lot fiercer this season, and I think that draw column definitely shows it as well for how fierce the fight was. But congrats to our top 4 finalists, and good luck in the final coming up next week, starting next week at least. So yeah, let's take a look at what exactly we have here for you in the championship playoffs. Raidman, Mucha, and Mr. Blue, and Real Boxa against Symphalix or Giovanni for that one. Yeah, really going to be hard to call, Patriots.
Yeah, definitely. Very good matchups here. Can be some great games here. Out of these players, none of them like really particularly stand out to me as like a specific like world map player. So like they're very consistent on both country and world maps, so that makes it even harder to call. Yeah, that being said, Boxa been impressive all season, and I gotta say, like it'll be hard to take him down, but hey, it could be anyone's game here. And yeah, Mr. Blue and Raidman should also be a very good game. Raidman has the highest total score, I believe, in all of Reddit League, so like that'll be a tough challenge to go up against. And but again, yeah, Mr. Blue could easily take it too.
Yeah, definitely. Calamity, Raidman a bit of on an upswing, while Mr. Blue hasn't had the nicest of finishes to the season. Giovanni just kind of flying under the radar, so to speak, and just keeping that playoff spot here, while Box has been pretty dominant in that one. So anything, maybe Boxa a bit, or
Yeah,
how do you read things?
I would have said purely based on consistency this season, the ones who've performed the best were Boxer and Raidman. I do think, though, that any of those 4 can totally 25k the playoff seed if they
Mm.
get a good one. You never know about that with the map we're going to play, but if it's a good seed, I can totally see all of them doing that. So it might come down to very slim margins. And since we are still in the semifinal, it will just be best of ones. So, you know, out of the regular season, 1 point can make the difference. And might be very exciting there. But yeah, as I said, I would probably give a slight edge to Raidman and Boxer, but I would not be surprised at all if Mr. Blue or Giovanni win the games either. Um, maybe also, as you mentioned before, briefly, Raidman is the only one here who has the experience of playing in the playoffs in Division 1, although Giovanni also has a bit of experience with these all or nothing games as he won last season's promotion playoff from Division 2 by just 2 points. So, and to give you some context on how these players played against each other in the regular season, it was a draw from Boxer and Giovanni in Asia, both getting 24-999 there. And Mr. Blue beat Raidman in Dams of the World 24-829 to 22-957. And I'm actually not, I think I'm relatively sure that if they do get the same exact score, so if both of them get a perfect score in the game, for example, what it will come down to is their distance to the right locations.
Okay, so yeah, not just pinpointing for that 25K, but pinpointing for those actual meters themselves, going to be of the utmost importance for this one. Yeah, I definitely think on a world map, I actually favor Mr. Blue a little bit more than if it was on a country map. Sometimes he plays a little bit too slow towards the end of the season, and that has cost him a few points, if not more, here or there. But on a world map, a little bit more leeway, at least for that 25K. So it gives him a good chance, but I'm definitely can't wait to see this happen. And the good thing is 3 of those 4 players do record videos. So we'll be able to bring you at least a couple of these things and hopefully the final as well. But yeah, real quick on the relegation, Radu, the eternal up and down elevator player, as it's often called, and Kevin Kroner, first time facing this relegation fight. Anybody you will see going down or staying up, Patriots?
Yeah, I think Radu's actually got a pretty good chance here. I was looking back at their previous matchup, and I think it was also on a world map in week 2, and Radu won that matchup. So yeah, I think I would have to give the advantage to him here, but but yeah, Kevin Kroner on a world map, you know, he could pull that I guess upset, if you will. I don't know if it's much of an upset, but yeah, I would slightly favor RC here, I think.
Okay, yeah, Calamity, similar thoughts?
Yes, absolutely. I'd even go further than saying to slightly favor RC. I think RC is the clear favorite here. Kevin can definitely put up a fight and can beat him, but I think we'll rely more on if RC makes a mistake rather than on Kevin's performance himself. Because as we saw in, what was it? I think it was Islands that we casted RC where he got a perfect score. So we know RC can definitely perform and will definitely perform well on world maps. And it would really require, I think, some weird seed or maybe something where Radu just doesn't have a good day and messes something up. And Kevin at that point needs to be there and perform as well. There's no point if Radu makes a mistake if Kevin does the same thing. So yeah, Radu the clear favorite, but you never know 100% with Geoguessr.
Yeah, I mean, you say it every week, and you've been saying it every week throughout the entire season. Well, it depends on the seed, and it kind of gets annoying, but it's very true. Like if the locations are in places with lots of information or easy to find, then these players can all get a perfect game. If it's not, or something happens in their actual playing of the seed, then it's anybody's game. You can definitely make a mistake as well at this level, and it'll cost you because it only takes one small slip up for this. I definitely favor Radu as well. Kevin is a very strong player, but he definitely has shown that he is strong in European or country-specific seeds more than on a world map compared to his other Division 1 players. So I think you have to favor Radu here. But as always, it'll be fun to watch and see what happens in that battle for them coming up. Well, let's change over to Division 2. And sorry a bit, Patriots, if I dumped Division 1 on you first, but I wanted to do that because Calamity, we had a crazy week in Division 2, and seeing how you were right in the mix of it, I wanted to give this one to you a first chance at that. So yeah, high scores all around, but crazy results, especially for those top few spaces.
Yeah, we can look at these 5 matches here. That just ignore the top line. We don't talk about that top line. But yeah, it was a crazy race for the promotion playoffs, and it was even super exciting on the last day because at that point everyone had played this except for Cameron, sorry. And still, there were 4 different outcomes from what his score could achieve, and all 4 different outcomes, that being either a perfect score, a draw with ice, a loss with a bonus point, or a loss without a bonus point, would have led to 4 completely different outcomes in the table as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, unfortunately for me, he chose the worst outcome possible for me personally, which was that he lost without a bonus point, which meant that he dropped down out of the playoff points. And why this was specifically the worst outcome for me, we'll see shortly. But yeah, great performances from a lot of people here. Ice making sure he stays at the top of his game here in the promotion fight. Seppo and Guelo Wizard both knowing that the game would be incredibly important for their chances of staying in Division 2. And Seppo did what was necessary of him and put in a fantastic score. But Guelo Wizard picked up a bonus point for his good performance as well, which cost Seppo dearly. And also Tall Impala, got to mention that, has been in great form at the end of the season, getting another very close to perfect score here, even though it was his bye week. And yeah, Verdok, a bit of a surprise loss against Tescotac, but Verdok's never been the most consistent in country maps. And yeah, Tescotac also showing some great late form with 2 wins in a row there against players you would normally have to favor against him. And yeah, Radox is always not being much help, losing against Chicago there.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, Tesco Tag definitely showing that he does deserve to be in this Division 2, knocking off a few giants here in the last few weeks. Patriots, any thoughts on these results, especially from maybe your fellow Americans here? There's quite a few of them.
Yeah, the big result for me was Seppo and Guelo, for sure, because yeah, like you said, Seppo got what he needed to do done, but Guelo also did as well. We'll see that in the table coming up probably here. Yeah, Tall Impala, very impressive score. Unfortunately, on that bye week, but yeah, it was the best in the division, so that's gotta feel good at least. And then yeah, that your unfortunate game against the Baseman, where he put up a solid performance, and he got the win against who was the first place player at the time. So that's good, impressive by him. Yeah, Istaru getting over 24,900 again, great score. And Tesco Tac pitting up a great score also against Verdok. And then Chicago got a great score as well, securing a good win over Radox.
Yeah, and even though he was the favorite in that matchup, Chicago not taking the week off, making sure he put up a strong performance and getting the win in that one. So let's look at this table and how it all shaped up. And yeah, we had 2 latecomers jump up into those automatic promotion spots with Chicago and Ice picking those up. Ice coming all the way from 5th. So really shaking things up. And that sees Calamity and Verdok drop into the promotion playoff spots, with Real Clyde just missing out. And Tall Impala will definitely be kicking himself, seeing how close this finished, 1 point off of a possible place in those promotion playoff spots, and very, very close. I think Verdok would have had him on probably score difference and perfect game as well. But for a while, it looked like he was way out of touch with that promotion race, but actually down to the last week, he was actually pretty close. So he'll be definitely looking to bounce back next season. Yeah, and M the Basement and Tesco Tac towards the bottom of that middle table, proving to be giant killers, doing nothing but pissing off everybody else above them. But solid performances from them throughout the season. And of course, Radox, the eternal relegation battle survivor, is going to have to do it for a 3rd season in a row here. But yeah, Calamity, crazy finishing at that top 4 spots.
Yeah, I was looking through the internet in the morning today, searching for a phrase that would be the opposite of "you should buy a lottery ticket." And the best I managed to find was "you should buy insurance," and I think I probably should. And it is sort of amazing to me how I ended up in third place with only 3 games all season that I was happy with in Cambodia, Asia, and California. Had awful
Mm,
luck in Belgium, Italy, Ireland, and Kenya, as well as horrible decisions in Uruguay and Bolivia. And yet, at the end of the day, I still could have gotten second place if Clyde had played better on the last game day and gotten a draw with Ice. But
mm,
yeah, at the end of the day, with the third most aces and the fourth highest total score, I'm probably in the right place in the table for my performances. And as disappointed I am with how the regular season ended, I'm still very happy with what I achieved in my first season in Division 2. And Verdok will now be my opponent in the promotion decider, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, at the bottom, as we've mentioned it before, Seppo's win just not enough. Lost on score difference against Guelo Wizard by only a bit over 1,300 points. And therefore, Guelo now gets to play against Radox and the relegation decider. But I think either, no matter who out of those two wins, they'll have to step up their game next season because, as you can see, that they were quite far away from the next person, up 6 points
mm,
behind Teskotak. And the players that come up from Division 3 are certainly great players as well. So if they don't perform better next season, they'll be struggling to even make it to that relegation playoff again. And yeah, congrats to Chicago and Ice, who are both good friends of mine, for their promotion. And yeah, I'll just try my best to follow them.
mhm. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Chicago and Verdock were the two relegated players from Division One last season. So not a complete surprise to see Chicago go back up, and definitely not the opponent Calamity wants to be up against, a former Division One heavyweight, for his chance to join them in Division One. But yeah, Patriots. Any comments from you here on the Division Two table?
Yeah, you guys summed it up pretty well, but yeah, this was definitely one of the most exciting tables to see at the end of the season here. Um, some unfortunate results for Calamity here, falling out of the automatic promotion, but you still got a chance. It is against Verdock, but it's still there. It's still got a chance. um, yeah, again, that other big results for me was the Seppo Guelo matchup, and then yeah, Grillo had the great performance, which got him that bonus point, and that was enough to put him above Seppo in score difference as well. And yeah, it was perhaps a bit unlucky for Seppo, but I'm sure Guelo is pretty happy about that. And yeah, congrats to Chicago and Ice Tower for their promotion Division One.
Very nice. Well, let's take a little bit of a closer look at those promotion and relegation matches, those decider matches, as we've kind of come to call them. Here, yes, Calamity, you up against Verdock and Guela Wizard against Radox. Yeah, I'll give you first thought crack at this, Patriots, for the promotion slot. Who do you favor here on a world map?
Yeah, for the promotion spot on a world map, I have to favor Murdoch, who just seems to be absolutely insane at them. Like, I don't foresee him seeing scoring below 24-9. I'm sorry, but hey, you're also very capable of scoring very well. I know that for sure. So yeah, good luck to you on that claim.
Yeah, thanks. Don't be sorry, I agree.
Mhm.
But yeah, well, I at least get to keep my streak going of now being the only player who's been in a different playoff game every season so far. So that's nice, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think I have at best an outside chance against Verdok. He beat me 9-2 during the regular season, actually, with my only two better scores coming from Cambodia and Asia. So if you get many Asian locations in the seed, I might have a chance. But
There you go.
yeah, there's not really a point in me looking at him for the game. I just need to perform well on my own. And if I get a good score, a score that I'm happy with, then I won't be disappointed, even if he does score better than me, because I know how good of a player he is. Um, but yeah, if I do very well, I think I've definitely got a chance. But yeah, I need to outperform myself, basically.
Yeah, definitely a world map is not the one you want to go up against Verdock on. He has struggled a bit in some of the country maps we played this season, but on those world maps, he's been really top shelf. So to have quite a mountain to climb for you there, Calamity, in that one. The relegation match, on the other hand, I really don't know what to think. What do you think, Patriots?
Yeah, this is another great matchup. It could go either way. I will favor Radx slightly simply because he seems to always be able to win these. So I will favor him slightly, and he's good at world maps. I, I think Willa is too, but Radx this is just really his strong suit here. So I think he's got a good chance here.
Okay, Calamity.
Yeah, I agree with that. If we were playing a country map, I would have actually favored Guelo. But on a world map, I do think Radox has the edge. And they played each other early in the season in week 2 on Dams of the World, which is a world map, technically, even though it has a very special theme. So I do favor Radox here, but yeah, anything can really happen. Yeah, we'll hear me say that a couple more times over the next matches, but I wouldn't be surprised with anything that happens here.
Yeah, definitely. Radox with that Division 2 pedigree after 2 seasons, surviving all of them, and here again for a 3rd season. And world maps, especially because it always seems to be that relegation decider match, he just can do it on those world maps. Guelo Wizard coming up from Division 3 last season has kind of had a rough time in Division 2, and maybe that could definitely contribute to him going back down again. But slight favoring of Radox here, but would not be surprised if Guelo again shows up and puts in a good performance for this one. Well, let's move on to Division 3, and we finally get to see Patriots' name here. And you do pick up a win in this one, but probably the biggest news that really mattered here was Redact getting a red card. So, yeah, your thoughts on these matchups for Week 11, Patriots?
Yeah, it was very unfortunate that Redirect had to get a red card. But it happens. As for my game, I overall have to be pretty happy with it. I really messed up on only one round, but that got rid of a lot of points, unfortunately. But I didn't get to practice as much as I wanted, but I did get a good amount in, and it looks like it was enough. So I'm pretty happy with it. But yeah, Hugo's unlucky streak kind of continued here, where he put up a great score, but unfortunately he won against Closed, who also had a really good score. And then Ferret had a great game against Max, who has been doing great lately. So ending up with a draw can't feel too bad at all. He did get a bit unlucky though, since he got the highest score in Division 3 and still ended up with a draw. Since he went up against Max, who had the second highest score in the division this week. Yeah, and Shumi also had a great end to a fantastic season for him, getting a good win against Freckles.
Very much indeed. Yeah, Calamity.
Yeah, it was a very turbulent last week for Division 3, which in the end actually didn't shuffle around all that much. The red card specifically for Redirect didn't really do a whole lot, but I'll talk about that more on the table. And yeah, Closed winning a close game against Hugo Alvara. In the end, it didn't matter too much for Hugo. He would have been in last place anyway. But I'm sure he would have wanted at least some wins here as well to go into the relegation playoff match with more confidence. But he's definitely put in some good scores, so I think he's got a decent chance for that. But yeah, Diaz does get a free win against Redirects with a pretty poor score on his part. And yeah, apart from that, you mentioned Shumi, another great game, and very high scoring draw between Barrett and Max as well, which in the end worked out good for both of them. So they'll both be happy with that. And yeah, you secured your spot in the promotion places with that win against Binnica.
Yeah, I think Shumi did have the best record of any player in the top 3 divisions because they all had the same amount of weeks, 11. So it's easy to compare, 10 wins and 1 loss. So well done by him. And he actually earned his promotion spot last week. So this is more of just playing to play. And he definitely didn't let anything slide at all. 23-8-11, a very good score from them there. But so let's look at that Division 3 table indeed. And Patriots, yeah, congratulations, keeping that number 2 spot. Despite a little bit of challenges from Close and Max FI. All 3 of you were promoted from Division 4 last season and see yourselves skyrocketing straight up into Division 2.
Yeah, first, thank you. Yeah, and it's kind of cool to see my fellow Division 4 people who were in the divisions last year, seeing them do well, seeing one of them being promoted is also pretty cool. Yeah, there was like a couple big things in the table, like one of them being Redirect's red card, obviously, which I mean it was fortunate for Hugo, who hasn't had the best luck this season, but got a break here and is out of the automatic relegation as a result. And the red card also benefited Omkar, helping him jump up to sixth place. Fortunately for Theos, though, with how it worked out, despite him getting a win this week, he kind of ends up in the relegation playoffs. And then also Freckles with the loss in Kenya and some great performances by Max and Closed. He unfortunately falls out of the promotion playoffs after a pretty good season. So that's unfortunate, but hey, he can be happy about the season. It was pretty good.
Yeah, Calamity.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really nice thing that with the way Reddit League works, you sort of get attached a bit to your fellow players and you kind of end up rooting for them, even if they're playing against you in the division and you want them to do well too. Yeah, in this table, a lot shuffled around because of the disqualification. Or, well, actually, it was more kind of because of just the way the last week ended up working out, because there was actually not a single point up or down in any of the top five for any of the top five players because of the relegation. They'd all won against Redirect previously, so his red card was meaningless for them. And at the bottom, it also didn't really change too much. I think it gave Hugo like 2 extra points, but took one away from a bonus point he'd gotten before. And it gave Theos an extra 3 points, which might be good, but well, he's still in ninth place. And Theos, if Redirect hadn't been red carded and Theos would have won, then I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have been in the relegation zone. But with the score he put up, he just wouldn't have won, pretty much. So it doesn't really change much for him either. And the only one who's got slightly lucky, who it could have ended badly for, was Ferret, who played some really good games in the last few weeks and almost got relegated or into the relegation playoffs because of that red card. The one who had the most benefits from it was surely Omkar, who catapulted himself from 9th to 6th place by getting an extra 3 points from, I think it was last week's game. I'm not entirely sure anymore. He got it from some game in the past. And yeah, Hugo and Theos are going to be now playing in the relegation playoff game. I think Hugo had the 4th highest total score in the division. So yeah, we said it quite a few times already. Very unfortunate season for him, but at least now with that red card, he gets another chance at staying in the division. And yeah, at the top, Freckles fell out of the promotion places, and he had a pretty up and down season. And he also had a yellow card in week 1, so maybe if that hadn't happened, he would be in those top 4. And I'm convinced he does have the skill to compete in D2 on some days, but the consistency just wasn't there to make it happen this season, and it's not been there in like the past 2 seasons either. So yeah, if he really wants to fight for promotion spots again, maybe make his way back to season 2 where he was in season 1, division 2, sorry, where he was in season 1, he'll need to maybe find some more practice on the country maps. But at least it was, I think, the first season where he picked up over 13 points. So I'm assuming he at least had more fun in this season than in the last 2.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so pretty much that red card means that the automatic relegation spots are already taken care of. Hugo and Theos have a chance, one final chance to stay up in the division, and we'll have to see how that plays out. So let's take a look at those decider matches. The promotion one, Close 24/7 versus Max FI. Close, the winner of Formula G. The first ever season of that, and Max also doing pretty well in that division. But again, both of them promoted from Division 4 last season, and one of them gets to keep going in this one. Patriots, who do you favor of your fellow classmates here?
Yeah, no, this is a great matchup, really. If I had to pick like a favorite, it would slightly favor Closed, simply because he's been slightly more consistent, even though like Max has been fantastic lately, so who knows? Like that one could really go either way. Positive thing for closed is that I know he hasn't been able to practice much lately, but because this is a world map with a ton of locations, practice really doesn't matter as much. So he won't really have to. So that'll, I guess, favor him slightly. But yeah, they Close and Max also played against each other this season on a world map, and Max actually ended up winning that one. So, and if I remember correctly, that seed that week, I think it was week 2, was kind of harder. So seed is easier. Who knows? That might change it up a bit. But yeah, this one could really go either way, I think. But I slightly favor closed.
Yeah. How about you, Calamity?
It's certainly a very exciting matchup. They've both had fantastic seasons so far, with Max having by far the most aces in Division 3 and Closed having the highest total score. And I would say out of all the decider matches, this is the most even, and I'm not even going to try to predict it. And I think, yeah, it'll just come down to how they perform on the day that they decide to play it. And again, I would not be surprised if either of them manages to win it, and definitely whoever wins it has deserved to get promoted into Division 2.
Yeah, definitely. Whoever wins will definitely deserve it. Yeah, Max's benefit here is probably his ace ability, but on a world map that can kind of be negated a bit by the fact that you can get a very good score simply by being in the right neighborhood. Given how hard it is to lose points, it's all spread out across the entire world, of course. But yeah, close very good overall and week to week, as well as getting that highest score across the entire season. So maybe a slight edge. You might be looking at like a 1 to 1.1 kind of favoring here from the bookies for closed, but that's about it. And very excited. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring that one to you in the coming week for that. At the relegation side of things, though, Patriots, Hugo or Theos?
Yeah, this is another great matchup, really. And if I had to predict this one, I'd probably give the advantage to Hugo, simply because he's been playing very well lately. And Theos, after that last match in Kenya, maybe he's not up to form, but who knows? I mean, it's a wildly different map, from a world map to Kenya. But I would still favor Hugo a bit because he has been playing really well.
Calamity.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same, but if you actually look at the stats, then Theos has won in Bolivia, and more importantly, also won last season on a Royal World against Hugo. And I think out of all the maps, the world maps we have that aren't just AI generated, I think Aurora World might come closest to the AI generated world and how it plays. But then again, it was a pretty close match back then. It was decided by just over 300 points. So definitely go both ways as well. But yeah, of course, you said it. Hugo definitely had the better general season in terms of just looking at his own scores and how he performed. Despite the 4-point deficit in the regular season, he had quite a bit of an advantage in terms of the total score. And even in the score difference there, where you could see it on the table, he was 18,000 points ahead. But yeah, I think it might be closer than you'd expect just looking at the names and how they performed last season as well. But yeah, I do favor Hugo slightly.
Okay, yeah, it's a bit tricky. Their high, if I can put it that way, is pretty even. They both have a potential to be around, not a perfect game, but definitely over 24-5 or so. So it could come very close there. But I definitely think that Theos's low is lower than Hugo's. So if they do have a bad week or unlucky seed, Theos has the potential to drop those points more likely than Hugo will. So I kind of favor him a little bit here in this matchup. But again, as we say for everything, it'll come down to the seed for sure in this one. Okay, well, we've got just a few more things to cover here before we head over to this map we've been talking about. One is the promotion final from Division 4, as we take a look at that now. It was between LCN and Steal This Nick, and LCN finishing strong. Steel Snick a bit of a slump towards the end of the season, and it kind of carried over into that promotion fight here. LCN will be promoted to Division 3, while we'll see Steel the Snake again in Division 4 next season. Surprised here, Calamity, or pretty much how you thought this was going to go?
A bit surprised because the thing is, during the whole regular season, LCN never really stood out to me much. Like, he's always performed decently, but there wasn't really any game where I was like, oh, he's done amazing, or oh, I definitely didn't expect him to beat that other person, but he did anyway. I think a lot of that was just down to how many red cards we had in Division 4A.
Yeah.
So a lot of matches just didn't even take place. And yeah, I'm excited to see how he'll do in Division 3 next season, just to get a bit more of a grasp on how good he is generally as a player. And for Steel the Snick, he did lose a lot of points in round 5, which had some pretty easy meta. So if you practiced, I'm assuming, like, if you practice 10 games, there's a pretty high likelihood you'll see that car once. But because it's definitely the most common out of the national parks. But even without that, he did lose a few hundred points in round 3, I think it was, as well, which meant he was without a chance going into round 5 anyway. But yeah, not a great performance, but also if you take out that one national park round, still not too bad. And I'm pretty sure he's going to have a good chance at fighting for promotion again next season.
Indeed. Yeah. Anything from you here, Patriots?
First off, congrats to LCN on the promotion. He had a great performance in Kenya. He ended up with the third highest score on the seed overall, and lost most of his points in round 5 with only a couple of other points off here and there. Again, like Calamity pointed out, Celtics didn't really have like a bad game either. He like a couple hundred points on round 3. He was just down the road only a little bit from where the actual location was. And round 5 and the Lua Wildlife Reserve was where he lost most of his points, and without that, like Calamity pointed out, it would have been a really good game. But otherwise, congrats to LCN. He put up a great score. So
very nice. Yeah, well, congrats to LCN. Well, we'll see you in Division 3 next season, and best of luck to you there for that. Our other promotion final was taking place in Division 5, and a very, very close game with Hexalt just outpacing J Lions there for the win here, Calamity.
Yeah, fantastic by both of them. Hexalt only being 17 points away from the perfect score, and Jake Lyons as well only being 300 points behind. And in the end, it wasn't just one, but 3 rounds where Jake lost a few too many points against Hexalt. So it was definitely a deserved win for Hexalt, but I'm glad we have another game for Jake Lyons, which we'll talk about in a bit, where he gets another chance at getting promotion, because I do think, he definitely deserves it as well. He at least deserves that one more chance.
Definitely. Patriots.
Again, congrats to Hexalt on the promotion to Division 4. He had a fantastic performance, getting the highest overall score on the seed, losing only a couple points just on pinpointing on 2 rounds, which were round 1 and 5. And again, Jay Lyons definitely did not have a bad game either. He had the 4th highest overall score on the seed, I believe. And unfortunately for him, it just wasn't enough to beat Hexalt's fantastic performance. So well done to both. And he deserves that extra game for sure, Jay Lyons.
Yeah, indeed. So while Hexalt gets that promotion slot this week, don't worry if you're a J Lions fan. He does have another chance. He has a last chance against GRH77 from Division 4B, who is facing relegation. With all those crazy red cards in Division 4, this is kind of how it worked out, that the only real relegation is this. J Lions from Division 5 has one last chance to play GRH on a world map and then get himself promoted. If he manages to win, they will switch spots. If not, GRH will keep his spot, and J Lions will have to try again next season in Division 5. A world map, GRH, J Lions. Gonna be a tight one, Calamity.
I'm not so sure about that. I'd be very surprised if GRH 77 can win it. The only player he took points off this season was you, and his total score was almost 30,000 points behind anyone else. And Jake Lyons picked up over 50,000 points more than him over the 9 games, and I can't imagine the additional 30 seconds account for that. So yeah, I'd be very surprised for sure if GRH won it, but it's possible for sure. But yeah, he'd really need to outperform himself, and maybe even then still get a bit lucky and hope for some mistakes from Jake.
Yeah, what's interesting is the one he did beat me on was just a crazy seed on a world map. So if I'm reading the schedule right, yes. So yeah, I mean, if I have to give him anything, he does have a chance to show up every once in a while, and if a world map gives him that chance. But yeah, I think you have to kind of favor Jay Lyons here. But you never know. It's Geoguessr. That's why we watch, and that's why we love this game. Yeah, Patriots, a All-American last chance matchup here for you.
Yeah, that should be exciting. The American Derby or another one. I also have to favor Jay Lyons. He's just had fantastic performances. He's been pretty consistent. But again, yeah, like you said, GRH can show up every once in a while, especially in world maps. I think when I was looking back at some of the past results, I think he did do better on world maps than country maps, although I'm not positive on that. So, but yeah, it does definitely give him a good opportunity, at least, to perform better.
Let me
Best
just
of luck to both of you.
Let me just
Sorry,
interject
Clement?
in there with I was looking at the game again where he beat you, and he guessed in Kazakhstan instead of Mongolia in round 1, and you lost, Zotomo. So just putting that out there.
It's a world map. But it doesn't matter if you pick the wrong country as long as you're still close. So
Yeah, 2,005
yeah.
kilometers,
I
2,500
think
kilometers away.
I think what screwed me on that one was that the weird. No, that was the islands map. What was my bad round in that one, or just did I have many bad rounds?
There were a few.
Okay, well we won't talk about it anymore then, if there's a few of those for that. But yeah, well that's all of it. We are in the final stretches here. Those promotion matchups and relegations to come. Lots of pressure on those players to either get secure their place in the next division up or keep their place in where they are. As of course, we also have those championship playoffs starting, so don't want to miss anything for that. And yeah, so let's take a look in detail at the map they'll all be playing on. And I don't know, I kind of like that we have a world map. It is kind of the more traditional, standard, basic GeoGuessr kind of way of playing on a world map for these playoffs and these decider matches. For this one. Yeah, AI generated world map. So no hand-picked locations, but it is sort of managed in a little way. Rolling Hill does make sure that they're distributed equally across certain regions. Average score 13,981 over 8,000. Sorry, not 8,000, 80,000 locations. Yes, that's a lot. Played over 35,000 times, almost 40,000 times there, and plenty of likes. Yeah, no blurry or photospheres, equally distributed between all of them. And yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting map, Calamity.
Yeah, and as I said before, I do think it is similar to a rural world in the way that a lot of it is just in rural or remote locations, just by the way population density works. A lot of the world is just not big cities. And if you make sure distribution is equally balanced between or by surface area, then you're just going to end up in remote places a lot of the time. And that is certainly the case for this map. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting. There's not too much to say about it because it is, after all, just a world map, and you're just going to have to practice playing some world maps. Maybe if you are aware of some of your weaknesses, maybe if you think, oh, I haven't got anything if we land in Thailand, I don't know what I'll do if we land in Brazil, then maybe look at those weaknesses specifically and try to iron them out just a bit to give yourself a better chance for this map. But yeah, in general, I don't think you can practice much for it. As you said, over 80,000 locations, you're not going to get a repeat. And even if you will, you'll probably not remember it. So yeah, will be an interesting last week for sure.
Yeah, any thoughts from you here on this world map, Patriots?
Yeah, I love this world map personally. Usually will generate some unique locations, even if they may be more rural. They usually aren't. They don't show up in any other maps usually because of the AI generated part of it. But yeah, again, you can't really practice it or anything like that since there is that ton of locations. So it's basically just like the quintessential world map where like it just comes down to who performs better on a world map.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I definitely think what Calamity mentioned of finding your weaknesses and then trying to iron those out. And maybe one thing you could do is, because it is based on surface area, focus maybe a little bit on those bigger countries: Russia, Brazil, United States, Canada, Australia. Perhaps, I don't know if you agree with me, Calamity, on that, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to do anyways, to maybe focus on some of those places, get some area codes down, or a little bit of local meta, so to speak, on those. But for me, on a world map, what if I ever try to iron anything out, it's countries I can't tell the difference between. Like, is it Croatia or Slovakia, right? It's like, okay, well, uh, I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little hard to figure out. So figuring out those small little things with like language, maybe there's one or two characters or alphabet. What are they called? Diacritics. There we go. That you might need to know. Work those out. Or maybe there's a flag or two that might confuse you. Maybe not a problem for our Division 1 players, but maybe for our lower divisions that could come into play here. But yeah, anything else like that, Calamity? Do you kind of agree with that idea? Or
I agree with some of the things you said. Yeah. Maybe not specifically things like Eastern European countries, because in a lot of cases it won't be too many points that you'll lose there, even if you do mix some of it up. But definitely for example, like you said, with just different letters that appear in some of the languages and not in others, specifically thinking about Cyrillic, to maybe tell apart something like, I mean, then again, you still mostly have the time, but maybe tell apart something like Russia, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Serbia, and all of that, just so you're not seeing Cyrillic and instantly going to Russia is probably a good idea. And yeah, apart from that, there's not really too much I've got to give in terms of tips for that. Yeah, just look at the most. I think what you said as well. Look at the biggest countries and that you're confident in those, and then everything will go fine.
Yeah, Patriots. Another thing that I have a trouble with sometimes is I can get the latitude correct, because it can often be easy to tell how north you are or how south you are, and that kind of thing. But is this very, very remote South Africa, or is this very remote Australia, which of course are very far apart? Can be a bit tricky. Do you have any comments or tips for our players or our viewers on something like that?
Yeah, sometimes like it can be hard to tell, and sometimes this is where like no moving practice comes in handy. Like being able to tell meta things like camera generation or something can help distinguish sometimes. Bollards, if need be, in like European countries, they help me a bit. Just like a bunch of those like no moving things, which there's tips floating around where you can find out how to improve your game on those ways. But yeah, like that, and that can come in really handy. You can find some really rural locations on this map. So
Okay, yeah, well, it should definitely prove to be an interesting stage for our playoffs. And yeah, definitely for those Division 1 championship playoff semifinals. I can't wait to see how they match up, and I'm really excited to cast them. I'm sure Calamity is as well. And if you enjoy this kind of thing, definitely hit that subscribe and bell button so you don't miss any of it. If you've been kind of on the fence for all these weeks, yeah, this is pretty good stuff, but yeah, I don't know, it's just week to week. No, it matters now, and it matters a lot. You don't want to miss this stuff. Click that button, and we'll see you all there. Take care.
Bye.
bye.